One way that toxic perfectionism strikes is by giving you good ideas and distracting you from what you're working on with other good ideas. A solution that is second best but delivered and usable by the end user is more valuable than a better solution that isn't in the hands of the end user. So you want to get that thing shipped and get it working, make it work, and then make it work well. This is a good principle in architecture. Make it work and then make it work well. You'll even see this in your interviews. You'll often be asked to implement a brute force solution and then improve on that, right? So how do we resist this shiny object syndrome? Also this slippery slope and nickel and dime problem, which happened where once I tinker this way and improve it this way, well, now I think of even new ideas and new experiments, and my curiosity is taking over, and it's so interesting and it's so fun, and the end user doesn't have the tool that they want. So how do I combat this? I default to no. Default to no when you're talking to yourself. And I think that you should say no often in order to preserve focus and in order to create prioritization. You should only say yes when a change has not only more valuable than what you're working on, but more valuable than what you're working on, plus the distraction cost, plus the switching cost, okay? So even the distraction cost, the time to think and consider it. And then if you say yes, then switching. Those are like two different costs. So you need to meet that third bar. It's more value than what I'm doing, plus the time to consider the alternative, plus the switching cost if I go forward with the alternative. So that's actually a pretty high bar, so you should be saying no often. That will give you focus and that will give you a lot of tools, but now you're going to be an antisocial person. And you'll see that this is like a common trait in some high performers is they're good at prioritizing, but then they come off as antisocial because they do say no very often. And so here's how I think you can balance this. Default to no technically and default to yes socially. And be willing to weigh social value when you're making this trade-off calculus, so that even if another technical solution is not worth your time, the technical solution plus the relationship capital that you can build by hearing them out, even if you ultimately go with no. When you're thinking about the time it costs you to consider an alternative, you also want to consider the social capital that you're gaining by listening to the other person. So they're going to think favorably of you if you hear them out, if you give them serious consideration. So that has social value, even if it is technically costly in terms of your time, okay? So I think this is the overall solution is default to no technically and default to yes socially. Hope this helps.